Houston Astros pitchers and catchers reported to spring training in West Palm Beach yesterday. What did we learn? 1, Josh Hader is the closer. 2, Justin Verlander, JP France are behind schedule with nagging injuries that don't seem to be serious in nature. So we heard from Joe Espada, who talked about how both Hader is going to be the closer and how he had to have a conversation with Ryan Presley. We heard from Josh Hader on his relationship. And we heard from Verlander, who explained the hiccup. Again, nothing to be, I think, super concerned about. But that was the big stuff that happened yesterday. I don't think we're going to learn much over the course of the next 42 days before they open up the regular season. There's really only 2 things that I'm hoping for. Number 1, Yainer Diaz develops a rapport with all of the pitchers for the Astros. And it's going to be tricky to develop that rapport because spring training is so weird for pitchers. A pitcher could have a terrible outing in spring training and they'll say, yeah, I was just working on some stuff. You will hear this a lot over the next couple of weeks. And to their defense, in a lot of situations, yeah, that's what they're going to be doing there. But when you're working on stuff and you got a catcher that's behind the plate for the first time, working with these guys, and I would assume being a part of that process of them trying to better themselves, along with Astros pitchers, coaches, that is going to be tricky. So this is a big time for Yainer Diaz, who's going to be working with some of the Astros' most important pitchers, but I would imagine in very limited sample sizes because of just the way that players play in spring training. They're sharing a lot of time with all sorts of other players who are just trying to fight and make a major league roster.
Yeah, like there is an element of there'll be guys that are like, I am only throwing fastballs and sliders today.
Correct.
Even when it doesn't make sense to throw I have a changeup, but I just will not. I'm working on fastballs and sliders today, and that's all they do. So it's not exactly like perfectly representative of who a pitcher is, but like you said, rookie or not a rookie catcher, but a catcher who's going to take on his first full year behind the plate. It does kind of raise your eyebrow, especially when one of the guys that he won't be able to work with is, if not the second best pitcher on the Astros, starting pitcher on the Astros, Justin Verlander, and a guy who wanted to work with Martin Maldonado in the past as much as possible. He's because he's behind on his where his body wants to be right now. He's missing out that time with working with Yainer Diaz, and that to me is probably the most interesting Yainer-related thing in spring training, is just how much work will those two guys get together.
That's a good point. I think we should maybe create, similar to our DEFCON scale or our terror level scale that we have in the United States, I think we should create a Astros panic scale with 10 being Ken Giles punching himself in the face and 1 being Ryan Presley at his peak. Where you at here? Okay. And I would say that I'm at about a 2 or a 3 as far as that being a major factor going into the regular season.
Yeah, I think it'll be something, maybe it can even get ironed out in the regular season.
Correct. Most of this is going to be ironed out during the regular season.
April and May.
You just hope that it is by April and May that Diaz feels very confident in himself. It's a tough spot to be in where you're a young guy. This team has had a vocal leader at catcher before, and it has a lot of great players. And yes, there's a lot of potential with Diaz at the plate, but from a defensive perspective, I do wonder on that front. That will be a challenge, earning the respect of his peers. Jer Bear, a.k.a. J-Bone Branham, and on top of that, Joel Blank is on from 3 to 6 on this very station. Jeremy dropped a big ol' piping, steaming take yesterday in reaction to Joe Espada talking with the media about his meeting with Josh Hader and Ryan Presley, where he announced that Josh Hader is the closer. Here's what J-Bone said. Quote, not only did Espada announce Hader as the closer, parentheses, right call, end parentheses, but he guaranteed this is Ryan Presley's final season in Houston. Now, what's funny is someone told Jeremy in the comments section underneath this tweet that Presley has a 2025 option that vests if he gets 50 appearances. He's likely still staying, barring a trade. It's only a mutual option if he doesn't get 50 appearances next season, which seems rather unlikely seeing as he had 65 last year. So I don't know if J-Bone was saying that Ryan Presley is going to ask for a trade or try to force his way off of the greatest dynasty currently going in baseball, but that is something that was put out there by Jeremy Branham. Meanwhile, we did finally hear from Ryan Presley on his side of things. He said he's completely on board with the addition of Josh Hader today and said that the team got better. Quote, I get paid to go get 3 outs. It don't matter if it's the 4th inning or the 9th inning, he said. So, listen, life comes at you fast. J-Bone came in with the flamethrower and then the flamethrower on the back of his, neck, the little tank, right? Anyone used a flamethrower before? Anyone?
No.
You've never used a flamethrower?
No, never.
No, I haven't either, but I'm assuming the little tank that you got in the back that's got all the fuel.
Yeah, I've seen movies.
It just blew up all over, and then he caught fire. Now he's just burning and writhing in agony.
Like he's Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, I hate you. I hate you.
That random tweeter.
You were the chosen one, Ryan Presley. You were the chosen one. Hello there. So there you go. That's the hot take. Here are the other things, I guess, that could be determined by what we see in spring training. I guess center field could be determined in spring training. It does seem like Jake Myers is getting the first crack at it. I'm wondering if that's going to last. I don't understand the idea of Mauricio Dubon starting on the bench as your utility guy. I think he should be your utility guy if injuries happen. I think that he earned a spot, much like Chas McCormick the year before. I think he earned an everyday spot in the lineup, or at least a most day spot in the lineup. Jake Myers is not as good as a hitter as Dubon. I know some people have pushed back with the idea that, well, Myers has more potential. Okay, do you really think he's going to reach that potential? Maybe Myers is a better fielder than I portrayed him in that little post that I put up there. I think he does rank pretty close to the top of baseball in a lot of metrics. I am definitely perhaps remembering some of the moments over the last 3 years where he has had one just absolutely tragic collision with the center field wall, and it usually has resulted in him not catching the ball. But that really seems to be the only position where there's a little bit of uncertainty as far as who's going to be the opening day starter. And it does seem like Myers is going to be the guy, and that this would probably be determined more so in the regular season. As far as infield depth, it seems like it's between John Singleton, who is now, I guess, out of options. It's also Trey Cabbage, who is a lefty outfielder with speed and still has some minor league options, also some defensive versatility. Our guy, Gray Kessinger, David Hensley, sharp-dressed man. I do wonder if Singleton's going to make it onto the roster going into this year because the lack of versatility, the lack of speed. Really, what was his biggest trait that helped the Astros last year? He's very choosy at the plate, and he drew a huge walk before Jose Altuve hit that home run in Game 5. And he had the one game where he had 2 home runs, and he did nothing after that.
I was going to say, he had I think it was like a 3-game stretch where he hit 4 home runs, or just something crazy like that. But yes, in the grand scheme of things, he is a backup first baseman, DH only kind of guy.
Yeah,
and I'd imagine, that's the biggest spring training battle,
right?
That's going to go on right now is Trey Cabbage and John Singleton.
Ooh, it's exciting. It's almost like spring training baseball is a thing that should be on every single game so that every fan can watch every single spring training game. because you got battles like that.
Remember last year's spring training guy where it was he played super well, and then
Correct.
when the opening day roster came out, they're like, how the hell is Corey Julks on this roster?
Correct.
Over Justin Durden.
Yeah, it was Justin Durden. You're right.
Whatever happened to Justin Durden?
I don't know. It doesn't seem like he exists anymore, because the top prospects that are going into this spring training are Jacob Melton, who is their consensus top prospect. He's a lefty bat with power and speed. Dana Brown seems to have a pants tent for him. And then you got Joey Lopafido, who may or may not be Italian. I just want to say his name with a little Italian accent on it. He was the Astros minor league player of the year. I think he struggled at the AAA level compared to the AA level. He's a left-handed bat with power, speed, and versatility. So that's fun, but that's probably not going to be someone that you're thinking highly of until the end of this coming season. And maybe they'll make the top 100 prospects in baseball list. And then you've got Spencer Adighetti, who's their minor league pitcher of the year, and Forrest Whitley, who still hasn't pitched in the majors. They drafted in 2016. He's 26 years old. You might see him this coming season, but that's really all that you're going to be potentially taking away from spring training. And I hate to say that spring training for Astros fans is a bit of a waste of time as far as like day-to-day coverage and paying attention to it, but it does feel like that's going to be the case for exactly the reason, Sean, that you said before. There will be some guy who does well. We will get kind of excited about him, but not that excited about him, and then we will totally forget about his existence after the fact.